due to all the requests I've gotten to make a video on frame data, I'm going to be making one so you guys can understand how to read and apply frame data to your game. This video is going to include startup frames, recovery frames, active frames, frame advantage, frame disadvantage, and all of that. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. First thing you guys need to know is this game runs at 60 frames per second, which means in 1 second there are 60 frames occurring. So, getting into startup frames, Kung Lao Standing 1 has 10 frames of startup, which makes it essentially 1/6 of a second. So, his forward 3 has 18 frames of startup, which is about 1/3 of a second. His teleport has 30 frames of startup, which make it about half a second. Active frames are when you do a move, like Kung Lao Spin has 6 frames of startup. And the active frames are when you do a move, and for a certain amount of frames, the move's hitbox is active, in which you can get hit by it. So, Kung Lao Spin. You do the spin, 6 frames of startup. For 30 frames, the hitbox will be active. Which means if you jump at Kung Lao and he does a spin, in those 30 frames you will be launched as an anti-air. Just frames are when you have a frame to make an input, and if you get that input right, you get a follow-up. Most of them give more damage, or some have different properties. Kung Lao has a just frame, his plum flower move. You do it, you have 1 frame to input to 2, you get it, you get more damage. Getting into frame advantage now. Frame advantage is when you do an attack, and either on block or hit, it grants advantage, which means you get to move first quicker than your opponent. So using Kenshi as an example, Kenshi's enhanced shoulder tackle. That move is +7 on block. So if you were to block that move, Kenshi gets to move first for 7 frames before you can, because you're stuck in block stun. Frame advantage. So you do the move, and as you can see, Kenshi gets to jump first. So let's say you were against the wall when Kenshi did this. If you block his enhanced shoulder tackle against the wall, he's at +7. It means you have to block his regular shoulder tackle because his shoulder tackle has 8 frames of startup. He's at +7. His shoulder tackle has +8. So if you minus the +7 of advantage on the startup on the shoulder tackle, you have 1 frame. Basically 1 frame to interrupt that move with armor. So you must respect that move. You block that, you gotta block the shoulder tackle after that. Now frame disadvantage is the opposite. That is when you block or get hit by a move and it has disadvantage. So using Kenshi's shoulder tackle as an example, you block his shoulder tackle, he's at -10. As you see, Scarlet jumps first before Kenshi can, because you're at 10 frames of advantage before Kenshi can move when you block that. Total frames are basically the whole concept of total frames are basically startup frames, active frames, and recovery frames all put into one. So going back to Kung Lao, for example, if you were to take his spin, alright, it has 6 frames of startup, and then it has 30 active frames, and then it has another 30 frames of width. So you add that together, 6 plus 30 plus 30, that's about 60 frames. So the whole duration of Kung Lao spin is 1 second. Is 1 second. And I wanna give a big shout out to Somnus for basically gathering the frame data, writing all of that, making sure we all have something to go by, something that we can trust and use to improve our game. Without Somberness doing all this hard work, the game's competition, as far as it is today, would be as advanced as it is today. So a big shout out to Somberness. I'm sure I and many others appreciate the hard work you've done for this game. And that's basically the data on how to understand frame data.